What's up, everyone? I ended up being really busy today and I haven't even been able to look at all of the patch notes, so being able to do as much video content as I wanted to be able to tonight definitely isn't going to be able to happen. So what I thought I'd do is touch on my own main character, because I actually think Leo's patch notes overall, from what I have seen, are some of the most interesting. I think that she's going to be one of the most changed characters in terms of her overall game plan. So I'll start off by saying that I think that overall she's probably going to get a bit worse, because a lot of the really filthy stuff is gone. Best guess is that she's basically going to be a little bit less knockdown orientated. She's going to have a slightly less disgusting war game, and maybe she'll have some ways to create more interesting pressure in the open, which are actually changes that I quite like. I think I can look at the game objectively and say that some of her orbital combos and the orbital loops off of low sweeps were a bit too much, and that it's fine that they should probably go. But I'm kind of getting into spoiler territory now, so what we should probably do is just start going into the notes one by one, and we'll see where we end up at the end, right? So 1, 2, 4 changes. Opponent reaction on counter hit was changed. So 1, 2, 4 is just her 1, 2 into the little low. Pretty generic 1, 2 into a low, like a lot of characters have. Opponent reaction on counter hit was changed. As far as I'm aware right now, it doesn't even have any more plus frames on counter hit. So this could range, obviously when it's something this ambiguous, there's a lot of these, properties on hit have changed, and we can't really have a very good guess at what this could be. It could be anywhere from, say, a stun like what Dragunov gets on down 2, or what Leo gets on KNK 4, with just a lot of plus frames. When you get a free mix-up, more than 10 plus frames and they can't block, it could be a knockdown, which would make it kind of similar to Brian's 1, 2, 4. It could even be a launcher. I kind of doubt it, but it could be. During Jinju Du Li, which is KNK, 1, 2. So KNK 1, 2 is probably the least used of the KNK extensions right now. It's a high mid where the second hit knocks down and wall splats on counter hit, but at the moment, in season 1 it's unsafe. So in season 2, it's changed from -12 on block to -9, making it safe. The second hit safe, and it's changed from +7 to +8 on hit. Honestly, I still don't think it's going to be particularly useful. I sometimes use it against sort of unfamiliar opponents to delay the second hit for a wall splat. It's safe on block, but sometimes people are going to want to duck or to low parry the KNK 4 or to duck the KNK 2 anyway, and the first hits are high. Not a very big change in my opinion. During KNK 4, changed from +14 to +10 on counter hit. Obviously, this is what I was just mentioning before, where you can block during it. Difference between +14 and +10 is like nothing, so sure, whatever. Forward 1+2. Now, as we already know, this is the wall bounce. That's one of the changes. It also gets changed from -17 to -14 on block. Now, part of the reason that I have not been hyped about Leo's wall bounce is the fact that it was on her forward 1+2, it's a slow move, and it was launch punishable by almost all of the cast other than Bob and Geese when he doesn't have meter, right? -14 on block is, it's still not a great move to just throw out hoping for a wall bounce. You're still going to want to only use it as a situational block punisher or when you're whiff punishing, but it makes you feel a little bit better about taking the potential risk of not quite getting the whiff punish. Maybe I don't think it's a move I'm going to end up using a lot, but you can't say that it being -14 rather than -17 isn't quite a big deal, because it is. Down forward 2+3. Now this is one of the big ones, and this is actually the most interesting one in my opinion. Because it's the one that the most Leo players are really upset about, and I've actually been asking for this change, and I think it's maybe the biggest buff that she gets. So down forward 2+3 is the punch low that gives the that at the moment gives the guaranteed full crouch down forward 3 at the wall. It's one of the reasons why her war game has been considered so terrifying. It's the one that got nerfed early into the console release because it was -14 before, so only like a third of the cast could launch it, and it was absolutely disgusting. And after it got nerfed, it was -15. Most of the characters could launch it, and at that point, in my opinion, the move was actually fairly useless. Now, a lot of people are going to be pretty disgusted with me as soon as they hear that, because it's -15, unseeable, high crushing, knockdown low that gives a guaranteed follow-up at the wall, which is pretty disgusting. And it really is. But it only did, even with the follow-up, it only did 2 more points of damage than a Hell Sweep. It high crushed faster than a Hell Sweep, but a Hell Sweep is faster and has much better tracking. And at that point, you're kind of going between 2 unseeable, just really ridiculously scary lows at the wall, and it's kind of just unnecessary to have more than one, in my opinion. They both hit grounded even. Now, to clarify, I don't think that it should be -14 with the properties that it had before. When it was -14 and it knocked down with the follow-up at the wall, it was totally disgusting and it should have been nerfed. But when it was made -15, as I say, it just kind of... It basically does the same job as the Hell Sweep. The Hell Sweep's already there. And at that point, I've been asking, and I know that some other people have been asking for it too, just to make her down forward 2+3 like it used to be. So, let's read this quickly. Down forward 2+3. Damage changed from 20 to 19. I hope you don't expect me to really say anything about that. Changed from -15 to -12 on block. Now, -12, in my opinion, I don't want to go too far into this, -12 is an amazing point to be at for a low. So many of the best mid-level while standing punishers are at 13 frames. 12, you miss out on a lot of big punishes. It's only, other than the people who already have a disgusting 11 frame punish, like Leo, like the Mishimas, Xiao Yu, Steve, only 3 or 4 characters actually gain a new punish at 12 frames, I think. Like Dragonov, Kazumi, Katarina, and Claudio, right? So you miss out on a lot of big punishes. Anyway, Leo also only currently has 1 low that's less than -13 on block, meaning that these characters that have really beefy 13 frame punishes, including the people who can launch at 13 frames, have a bit of an edge on Leo using lows for obvious reasons. So having another low that's -12 on block is amazing for that. Opponent reaction on hit and counter hit was changed. So the opponent reaction on hit, at the moment it's a knockdown, right? It gives a guaranteed follow-up at the wall, nothing in the open, and on counter hit you could get the full crouch down forward 4 in the open. I think you could crouch cancel into a stomp. But basically a knockdown and a different knockdown are its current on hit and on counter hit properties. Now, it being -12 tells me that there's no way it's going to knock down on normal hit anymore. In Tag 2, it was plus on hit, right? It was like +4 or 5 on hit, I think. If that comes back, this low is going to be amazing for Leo. A lot of people think this is a nerf, and it really won't be. You have the Hell Sweep, right? You have an unseeable knockdown low. You really just don't need more than one, especially when the Hell Sweep has such better tracking and range, etc., right? So, my best assumption is that you're going to get plus frames on hit with this, maybe something like +3 or +4. You're going to be in crouch afterwards, and I don't think the opponent will be. If it's still a counter hit launcher, like it was in Tag 2 as well, then it's just going to be ridiculous. Like, people really think she's losing like her best low right now, and honestly, this change is amazing. It could really be amazing for her. Pushback decreased so it hits easier, which is sort of a generic change that we're seeing on all the characters. Down 2. Right, okay. So we're actually getting the two probably biggest buffs right next to each other. So down 2. And this one isn't going to be contentious. Everyone knows that this is a buff. Changed from +2 to +4 on block. Keep in mind that it forces crouch. at the moment, and it doesn't mention that that's going to change. So +4, opponent forced into crouch on down 2. Down 2 is a slow mid. It's about 20 frames, and it's extremely linear. It can be stepped either way, particularly easily to the right, I believe, which is Leo's weak side. But +4 on block, right? Obviously just making it so that you have much more real pressure there. They're forced into crouch and they're at -4. So their options are extremely limited, opening up a lot more of your pressure. You can step there while standing mid options, or you can just sort of apply a mix up between a mid and a low once they're conditioned not to move. Once you've conditioned the opponent not to move in neutral, her down 2 is going to be amazing. It's also now +9 on hit rather than +8. Cool. Opponent reaction on mid-air hit was changed. I'm not really sure about that because at the moment it already floor breaks and it sort of like hits them down. Maybe it gives a proper untechable spike. So yeah, we'll find out about that. During Phobu, which is Bok 2, hitbox expanded downward. Opponent reaction when hit while downed was changed. So it now hits really low to the ground and hits grounded. Obviously coming out of Bok, it's an incredibly slow move. The idea is that you watch what's happening as you go into Bok, look for a whiff, or you just sort of go crazy and just throw out a Bok 2 and hope you go under a mid. So I really don't know what it hitting grounded and it having a different the opponent having a different reaction when it hits grounded is going to do. Honestly, no idea, so we'll have to find out on that one. Bok 1+2, which is the armor move high, closer to opponent on hit. My best guess with this is that it basically makes it so that you can always hit forward 1+2 as the follow-up. It's kind of like Feng's back 1 on counter hit, where it gives that knockdown where they're sort of like on their shoulders with their legs up in the air and you get one hit as a follow-up. Usually with Leo you prefer to get the forward 1+2, it does quite a bit more damage, but you go for forward 2 because it hits at all ranges. So if they're closer, maybe you can always get the higher damage option, which is really nice actually. Still not a very useful move. Down back 3, hitbox expanded. Down back 3 is Leo's backswing move. Hitbox expanded, I mean, it's already a high. I don't really think I've ever had problems with its hitbox. I don't know what kind of hitbox fixes they're going to give it. Not a move I use very often. Don't really know what to say about that one. Down back 4, which is the first hit of a Hell Sweep. Reaction on counter hits changed. So this is where you start getting into where Leo is losing the filth. So before, down back 4 on counter hit gave them a face up, feet away knockdown. And you could get 2 orbitals into a down forward 2+3 in the open, which did like over 70 damage, and it was disgusting. So it looks like that's going to be gone. Maybe you can get one into a stomp. Maybe, you know, we really don't know, but it's probably going to be quite a bit less disgusting. Down back 4-1, which is the full Hell Sweep. Opponent closer on block. So on the mid extension, they're going to be closer on block. I don't really know that anyone struggled to punish it as blocking the mid as it was, but they won't now. Once again, that's more of a generic change across the board where they're just making pushback on block and sort of just ranges left on hit and block. They're just changing them up. Now we're on to back 1, the infamous back 1, part of obviously back 1-4 into K&K. Opponent reaction on counter hit was changed. So back 1 by itself couldn't follow up into a full combo on counter hit before Tekken 7. My best guess is that that's probably what they've done now, is that they give it a sort of a counter hit launch, but you can only pick up and capitalise on that if you've committed to back 1-4 already and you counter hit confirm into K&K 2. So that's my best guess. Obviously it could just be a knockdown, it could really be nothing. But basically just throwing out back 1 by itself is going to have a much less potential reward. Up forward 3+4 next, which is the orbital, and now we go further into the why the dirt is gone. So it's changed from -1 to +0 on block, which is very nice. It forces crouch, so +0 force crouch on the opponent is good. Changed from +5 to +6 on hit, so very slightly better on block and on hit, right? Opponent reaction on counter hit and hit while downed was changed. So At the very least, it's probably not a counter hit launcher anymore. And the ground spike that gives the guaranteed down forward 2+3 off of low sweeps, or off of when you hit someone grounded when they don't tech in a combo, or when you get it on the low wall hit, all of that stuff is probably gone. And most of Leo's most disgusting stuff in Season 1 came off of the grounded orbital hits, off of different setups. And it's probably all gone now. All gone. Active frames decreased by 1 frame. Whatever, right? Up forward 2 now transitions into box stance if you do up forward 2 down. Up forward 2 is the start of the up forward 2-1 string, which is kind of a weird mini launcher that's safe on block. But there's an interrupt window in between the 2 hits. Very few people hit it, even when they know about it. It's a hard interrupt to get. It's just a weird move to react to. But it's you know, you get like just under 40 damage overall from the combo you get from it, and a little bit of wall carry. And if they don't interrupt, it's safe on block. And if they attempt to interrupt and they get counter hit by the second hit, there's a knockdown that gives a guaranteed grounded forward 3. So you can now potentially do up forward 2, and against an opponent who's savvy and tries to interrupt with a quick high, you go into block and you go under the high, right? So obviously, also anything that goes into Bok, you can gimmick people who don't know about the transition, go under an attempted retaliation, launch them with Bok 2. Yeah. Up forward 2-1, which is the full string, damage was changed to 14 to 17. So maybe you get just over 40 damage now from the combo altogether. It's already a mid that I really like as a mid mix-up, because down forward 2 doesn't launch crouches, so it's nice. I mean, they're small buffs, but they're buffs to a move that I already like. Forward 3. That's the sort of long range overhead kick that hits grounded. It's a mid. Changed from -4 to -7 on block. It's obviously a nerf. It goes from a place where you can quite easily move after it gets blocked to where it's slightly less comfortable to do so. Recovery increased by 3 frames on hit. This might make forward 3 into Bok slightly more of a legit sort of stance transition on hit, but it's another thing that's kind of whatever. And an opponent reaction when hit while down was changed. It's quite fun to think about the possibility of getting the orbital spike on forward 3 now, because it would be much more situational, but still get that powerful spike into the guaranteed down forward 2+3. Probably not, but I don't know what else it could be. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Forward 4-3. That's the long range double kick mid launcher that gives the insta screw. Changed from -12 to -14 on block. It already kind of came down to a mix-up on block on whether they were going to try and punish the forward 4-3, which would get them counter hit by forward 4-3-4. Now the punish is a bigger punish, right? 14 frames. Matchup dependent. Some characters that actually doesn't really make any difference at all. Some characters it's the difference between eating Brian's 2-3 or eating a jet upper, right? So it's huge. Forward 4-3-4, so the low at the end of this string. Opponent reaction on counter hit was changed. So this was another one that gave the face up feet away knockdown for the orbital loop. And once again, all that orbital stuff looks like it's gone. Opponent closer on block. Kind of irrelevant, because if you wanted to deal with the low, if you choose not to punish the launcher and try and deal with the low, you'd rather low parry it than low block it anyway. Once again, this is just kind of a generic change across the board where pushback is reduced. Back forward 1+2, 1+2, 2. This is a string that in Season 1 was basically never used, and it's the old wall combo ender in like Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag 2. It's kind of like a shoulder into a punch. Opponent damage, changed from 13, 11, 20 to 15, 13, 25. So a big damage buff. Startup changed from 21 frames to 20 frames. Hitbox expanded forward. Basically, the idea is that they're trying to make this come back for combos. Whether it be for combo carry, as well as a wall ender, we don't know. But they almost certainly want you to use it as the wall ender. We already saw that in the trailer, and it very much looked like the final hit got the 60% scaling. And it's the one that you can get the blue spark on. So it looks like if we're losing the orbital ender, this is going to be the new wall combo, and it's going to do a lot of damage. Back forward 1+2, 1+2, quarter circle forward 2. As a Leo main, I'm going to embarrass myself and say I actually don't really know the specific differences between the two. I don't know if the quarter circle forward 2 version gives you the blue spark, or whether a just frame version of the quarter circle forward version gives you a blue spark, but it's probably one of them. Damage changed from 13, 11, 20 to 15, 13, 30. So if you can pull off this version and you get the 30 damage as 60% scaling, obviously we're losing the orbital wall ender probably, but this new wall ender is going to do a lot of damage if you can pull off the blue spark version with the 60% scaling on 30 damage on the last hit, right? Quarter circle forward 2. This is part of the crouch dash mix-up. This is kind of the one that isn't really used because quarter circle forward 2 is quite linear, whereas quarter circle forward 3+4 is the homing move that looks like Lily's move with the double kick. Opponent reaction on counter hit was changed. I don't think at the moment it has any properties on counter hit. It's not actually a move that I use very much, as I say. But if we look at the quarter circle, the full string notes here, quarter circle forward 2, 1, changed from -9 to -6 on block. It's quite interesting because it being -9 was already something that a lot of people complained about, like why is it even safe? Now it's -6. Changed from +4 to +7 on hit. Massive plus frames on hit. With +7 you're in mix-up city. Opponent reaction on mid-air hit changed. So this is on the second hit of quarter circle forward 2, 1, and this is what's leading people to believe that maybe the second hit will screw on airborne opponents, right? And perhaps quarter circle forward 2 by itself is a counter hit launch, and if you do quarter circle forward 2, 1, you get a counter hit launch into a screw, which kind of makes it a little bit like forward, forward, forward 3 in the fact that you'll get a second hit of a combo screw and you'll get the same combo after that. Hitbox expanded downward. Input window changed from 15 frame, 21 frame to 18 frame, 22 frame. Not much to say about that. While rising 2, opponent closer on block. Easier to punish, right? While rising 3, opponent closer on hit. So while rising 3 is around +6 on hit, they're even closer to you, even harder for them to get away from stuff like Hell Sweep, just strengthens the mix-up. While rising 3, 2, changed from -15 to -10 on block, and there's another extension, so this is a lot safer to use. It's kind of a mix-up on whether you're going to finish the string now. While rising 3, 1, 2, changed from -18 to -9 on block, so now the full string is completely safe, and recovery decreased by 7 frames on hit. While standing 3, 1, 2 is already used as a wall carry ender, so maybe this actually helps in combos, right? You get your wall carry, and it's kind of slow to recover, so you get your wall carry, and then you dash in for what the new wall ender is going to be in back forward 1+2, 1+2, quarter circle forward 2, right? While rising 4, changed from -10 to -12 on block, opponent closer on block. So it should never have been -10. It's now -12. They could make it launch punishable for all I care. You should only use it as a punisher. But it's -12 now, and you're closer. So everyone's going to be able to punish it with something half decent. While standing 1+2, damage changed from 28 to 25. It makes the shoulder ender in combos slightly worse. I already don't really use it. And I mean, I don't really ever use while standing 1+2 in any situation, so I don't really care that it gets a tiny bit worse for damage. And finally, and this is one of the big nerfs in the whole set, is while crouching down forward 3. So this is what you used to get guaranteed after down forward 2+3 at the wall, or down forward 2+3 on counter hit, and also a full crouch down forward 3 would give another one guaranteed at the wall. It's an unseeable lockdown low sweep. Damage changed from 24 to 20, so a damage nerf, and opponent reaction on hit was changed. So probably not going to loop into itself at the wall, right? Which really was kind of the only benefit of the knockdown. It was a decent knockdown, but you didn't get anything guaranteed in the open or anything. It's kind of hard to say. The fact that they've nerfed the damage almost makes me want to say that you might get something better off of this knockdown. Better Oki in the knockdown, or in the open, sorry, or something like that. Or maybe they just wanted to make it a lot worse, right? Nerf the damage, give it a much worse knockdown, no guaranteed follow-up at the wall, just make it worse in general because Leo is one of the top characters and they wanted to bring her down a bit. So, that's the full set of balance patch notes for Leo. So where are we left? It's really weird, right? They kind of, like I said at the beginning, they got rid of the filth. They got rid of the orbital loops, the nasty sort of counter hit lows that just did like 70 damage off of just orbitals. The orbital wall combo is probably gone. So all of that stuff was disgusting, right? And if you're losing something disgusting, then it's a pretty big nerf to a character. And what she gains is a slightly more diverse low game, probably, with down forward 2+3 being brought back more like its Tag 2 version at the very least. Better pressure off of her down 2, so that you can kind of get some pressure going easily with that once you condition them not to move. And obviously changes to things like quarter circle forward 2, so the crouch dash mix up is now potentially more deadly on the mid side. You now have the counter hit low, quarter circle forward 1, and now probably a counter hit launcher with quarter circle forward 2/1, which is going to have nice frames on block and it's a high damage mid mix up anyway. So they're sort of encouraging even more for that string to be used. So yeah, in my opinion, she basically gets a bit more honest, right? She loses some of the really filthy stuff, but she stays still a really solid all-around character. And she has some new interesting things to play with in the neutral. I do think that, yeah, she probably has got a little bit worse, but she might honestly be more fun to play. And I think there's probably reason to respect a Leo player a little bit more now. Because you can't, it doesn't sound like back 1 is going to be as abusable. The war game isn't going to be as abusable. The ridiculous comebacks with orbital loops and stuff are going to be basically completely gone. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, a lot of the changes are sort of ambiguous hit property changes that we still need to look into before we can really tell. These have been my best guesses. I've spoken for about 5 times longer than I thought I would. This is why I do scripted videos and I don't just sit here in front of a camera and ramble, because I go on forever. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all soon.